In this video, I want to take a look at abortions. I'm going to start off with the video.
I'm going to start with Ms. Detzer. You were quoted on September 17th, 21 on Fox 13, Seattle News, that you have not looked back except in celebration and deep appreciation for your choice. And again, respect that. I'd like to ask you, though, when it comes to when your state grapples with it, at what age do you think gestationally it's no longer appropriate to have an abortion? Just a simple question. And I think that any of us, if we're out here talking about the issue, especially in states where it may go beyond where it's commonly accepted, I'd like to know your opinion.
Sorry, Senator, could you repeat your question, please?
You and some of the organizations you support abortion, I believe, up until the moment of birth. And I'd like to give you the chance to clarify that, if you think that's still where it should be, or if there is an age beyond which you would not be comfortable with an abortion.
I am not a medical provider. I have no standing to make any statements about medical limits. What I am here to do is to share with you all my personal story of abortion access and to highlight how my mother's story of abortion access was so very different and how much changed in just one generation between us.
So putting a medical issue aside and assuming there was none, is there an age beyond which you would be uncomfortable with an abortion?
I'm sorry, are you asking me to consider an abortion not a medical procedure? Because I believe that it is healthcare.
Taking the inherent risks of an abortion aside, and if it's minimal, do you think there's an age beyond which you'd be uncomfortable with it?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that question? I'm not sure how to separate healthcare from an abortion.
So you're making that point, and I'll let you rest on it. I'll go to Ms. Brandy with the same question.
Excuse me, Senator, are you asking me a question? Or are you asking
the same question I asked Ms. Detzer?
I apologize, I was confused. I'm Dr. Brandy, thank you. I think what you're trying to bring up is abortion care later in pregnancy. And I understand people have very different opinions about what that looks like and how they feel comfortable regarding different gestational age limits. But I think talking about these hypothetical scenarios doesn't actually respect the pregnant people that I take care of every day that have varying circumstances. And as a physician, I think the most prudent thing is to listen to their stories, assess their own medical risks, depending on where they are in pregnancy, and help them decide what's best for them. I think bans based on a gestational age, whatever that gestational age is, just create barriers to care and don't actually improve the safety of care, which is what I care about most for my patients.
Being a doctor, I think you may have a better way to answer the question in the sense that I know there's medical risk in doing anything. At the point, you can't eliminate risk, but to where, say, there would be as little as you could determine at the time, do you still think it's appropriate for someone to choose an abortion up to the point of birth?
Senator, again, that hypothetical that I think is brought up quite a bit actually is not what abortion care looks like on a day-to-day basis. Abortion care after 20 weeks is about 1% of pregnancy. And I think by focusing on that, you delegitimize and you disrespect a lot of the patients that are seeking this care for very legitimate and important reasons.
The thing that frustrates me the most when it comes to the Democratic Party is the fact that they do not answer questions directly. They will either avoid answering the question altogether, they will go all the way around the block, answer everything else but the actual question that was asked. They do not stand on facts. They do not stand on truth. They won't even give their opinion in some cases. It's just that they would just go back and forth, refusing to answer the question as if it's a game. When it comes to abortion, that is taking a life. That the baby within the mother is alive, is breathing, is growing, is developing, it's alive. So you're actually taking a life. And it's not just about taking the baby's life, it's also what can affect the mother, how the mother can be affected by having an abortion. Some women go through depression. Some women start taking drugs or taking alcohol, drinking alcohol to deal with the knowledge of I just ended my baby's life. And then some women, after they have an abortion, they may never be able to have another child again because of scar tissue. So if they're not sitting and being honest when they're asked direct questions, how much information do you really think they're giving to these people who may be seeking abortion or maybe looking at an abortion? Is this the right option for me? But if they're not being truthful with these people, are these people really making the decision of I want to end my baby life because I have all the facts? Or they're saying I'm going to end my baby life because they're lying to me and they're telling me, oh, it's no big deal. It's part of health and human health, different things like that. And that's another term I do not like. Abortion is separate from the health of a mother, human health, or health care. Abortion is not health care. Abortion can be part of health care when the baby is not growing where it's supposed to be. Because having a baby is not something that's unusual. You go to a doctor when you find out something unusual is going on and you want to correct that. But when you find out that you're having a baby, you're bringing another life into the world, normally people are excited, are happy, they're looking forward to bringing that new life into the world. But when a mother, sometimes the baby is not growing in the correct place, it might be in the fallopian tube, and therefore as the baby grow, it can end up actually killing the mother. So therefore at that time, it would become, her pregnancy would become a health issue that can actually end the mother's life. So yes, ending that pregnancy may be the best thing at that particular time in that situation because of the mother. I understand, and a lot of people understand, that there's different reasons why a person might consider abortion. If a young girl is SA and she end up getting pregnant by uncle, brother, cousin, someone in the family or someone outside of the family, she might be 12 years old, she might, be a 15, a teenager, and that's a decision that the family would have to make as far as, do we want our daughter to continue with this pregnancy or not? Because her body or mental capacity might not be enough, or they feel that this is the best option for her. But that is something that I feel in that situation, or if a woman is being, if a woman was raped or something like that happened, that would be a decision that she would have to make if she wants to carry a child of a man that assaulted her, a total stranger that did a violent act to her. Do she want to carry that on? I know some people don't agree with that. They just say if you don't want to take care of the child, go ahead and have the child and put it up for adoption, which is not always the best option. But, in those circumstances, I can say, well, okay, I understand. But if a person is just waking up in the morning and figuring out, oh, I did something I shouldn't have did, last week or the night before, and now I'm pregnant, let me just go end it. Or this is my 5th time getting pregnant, let me go ahead and end the life of my child. They're using abortion as birth control, or they're using it to determine if I want to have a son or a daughter. Things like that should not be part of why a person go ahead and have an abortion. And so those are the things that I'm against, because some of these things are preventative, where you don't have to get pregnant. They're acting as if abortion is the only option, when there's other options that don't lead to pregnancy that can be put out there And so that's why, dealing with Democrats, they do not give honesty in their answers, and they do not give direct answer. He asked a simple question: what about, do y'all believe in full-term abortion? So a full-term abortion is when you don't reach your 9 months of pregnancy. Now you're deciding, hey, I no longer want this child. If you carry the child for 9 months, why wait till they take the child out and then say, I don't want to have this child? I understand that a lot of people feel that, murder, no matter what stage of life, is murder. But that right there is just really cold-hearted murder, that you have a fully developed baby that can survive outside of the womb, but you want to end its life because now you're deciding, I don't want to have this child. You don't want to give it up for adoption at this point. You just want to go ahead and completely end its life after it survived in your womb for 9 months. Now you want to go ahead and just end the life of that child. And let me also share another video with you.
Because when we see a child, as this one is, at 15 weeks, we actually see a baby. Shockingly enough. 48 years ago, the Supreme Court may have decided that a woman had the right to an abortion, but we never lost track of humanity. Abortion's not just a medical procedure. It's the taking of a human life. I talked this morning with an abortion survivor. And yes, they do exist by the thousands. She's in her 40s. She has children of her own now. She survived a botched abortion and was actually delivered alive during an abortion procedure. She was taken by a nurse to the NICU unit of that hospital, and she is still alive and thriving today. I sat there with that abortion survivor, thinking that abortion is not about random tissue. It's about a person. Quite frankly, this morning, the person who was sitting right in front of me. Now, I understand full well I'm a pastor who's now a senator. I'm fully aware that I have a biblical worldview, and my dedication to children is not just because I'm a follower of Jesus and believe that every person is created in the image of God. I also firmly can look at the science. Science is clear to anyone who's willing to get past the talking points and actually look into the womb. At the moment of fertilization, a new and distinct human being comes into existence. It's not just a fertilized egg, it's a new human. This new cell, which is called a zygote, shows behavior that's unlike the behavior of any other cell around it that's in the woman's body. The DNA inside that cell is different than the DNA inside any other cell in the mom's body. That cell has everything that he or she needs to become a fully developed human being. Everyone listening to me right now, everyone, was once a single cell zygote, completely dependent on your mom for nutrition. That's why we encourage moms to eat good foods, take prenatal vitamins, stop smoking, and all those things, because we want to protect the development of her child. Why? Because we all recognize that that's a child, and what a mom does now will affect the future for that child. As a baby grows in his or her mother's womb, it continues to develop. At 15 weeks, as this baby is, and that is what the Mississippi law is all about, is a baby that looks just like that. At 15 weeks, a baby has heart, lungs, skin, eyes, nervous system. By 15 weeks, or a little over 3 months of pregnancy, this preborn baby is moving around and responds to touch. All of her organs are formed, and she just needs more time for them to grow and develop. Her heart already has 4 chambers. It's already beaten millions of times and pumps more than 6 quarts of blood per day. She cannot breathe outside the womb, but she is breathing inside the womb. She has arms and legs. She has 10 fingers and 10 toes, and normally by this point already shows a preference for being right-handed or left-handed. She has eyes, a lips, a nose, fingernails, eyebrows, even taste buds. And she can feel pain. This decision is both ethical, moral, and medical implications. Look in the mirror for anyone in this room. You've got fingers and toes and a lips and a nose and fingernails and eyebrows and taste buds. You can feel your heart beating. The only difference between you right now and this child is time. That's it. But for some, it's easy to just close their eyes and ignore the self-evident fact, because it's easier to talk about court precedent or choice. Because if we looked at each child and recognized this child for who she is, it's hard to process that in the last 48 years, 62 million children have died by abortion in America, Oklahoma. The arbitrary, outdated viability standard established by the court makes it harder for states to protect women from physical risks that accompany late-term abortions. It makes it difficult to allow states to protect preborn babies in the second trimester that can experience pain. The viability standard prevents states from banning dismemberment abortion. The viability standard deters states from protecting children diagnosed with Down syndrome, developmental disabilities, and children being aborted simply because they're male or female. It also prevents states from protecting the lives of their own citizens at any stage of development. I don't understand how infants have become a partisan issue. I really don't. There are some issues, as I talk to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I can see their perspective and their point of view. I may not agree, but I can understand their point of view. But on this issue, I do not understand how some people see a baby sucking their thumb in the womb and they see them only as medical waste.
Now that abortion is basically state level, on the state level, each state decides how they want to handle abortion, if they want to be a state that allow abortion or they just want to cut it out altogether, if they want to allow abortion up to a certain term. So each state has to make that decision based on who's in office and how the people of that state is voting. And so when it comes to if a person had an abortion, what happens to the baby after that? In some states, they just treat it as medical waste. And so they would just go ahead and burn it just like they would do any other medical waste. They would just burn it. Some people, they have the option if the mother or the parents want to take the child with them, they can take the child and actually, have a funeral for the child or whatever. Some states, you have to do that. You have to either have the child buried or cremated. And then in other states, you're able to, they say they don't buy or sell the tissues of infants, of aborted babies, but the medical facilities, they can make money from it based on how long they had to store it, in what way they had to store it, if they had to mail it out or however they had to, deliver it to the facilities. So they can charge a fee for that. So they're, they are making money off it, even though it's not legal to sell body parts. But they find a way around that and they make money doing that. And so this is just me thinking. It's not facts. It's just me thinking. Based on the first video I showed and how they were saying that some people wait to full term to have an abortion. And so at this point, if a rich person, a person has money, they have a child, the child may be 4 months old, 6 months old, and say for instance they need a heart transplant, they need some type of organ. They cannot get certain organs from adults because it's too big to fit in their body. So where they're going to get these organs from, that they're going to be able to have a heart transplant, an organ transplant. I know sometimes babies are, born full term, and then, they might have some type of medical issue and they don't survive. And so if the mother's okay, they can use the organs of the baby to donate them. But it's like that made me think if they're buying these, if a person, because it doesn't make sense to wait to 9 months to decide, hey, I no longer want my child and I'm going to abort it. I'm going to get rid of it at that stage of the game when you can give it to someone else who wants to have the baby. So what's the point of carrying a child that long and then terminating its life? So that's what made me think about things like that, because I'd be trying to figure. I do try to understand people. I don't try to just villainize people. But a lot of things, when you look at the Democratic Party, when you look at the things that's going on in the world, there's really no understanding. And like I said, I know a lot of times when it comes to Democrat people, when you hear how they talk, when you see the things they say, when you see how they move, when you see they cannot answer a question directly, and even the people that follow them, when you ask some of these young people, these kids, these teenagers, why you want to change your gender? Some of them can't even answer that question as far as why they want to. Some people can't answer certain questions as far as why they're making this stand, why they're making this decision. They're just going along with the crowd. They're following the wave. They're going any way the wind blows, that's the direction they're going in. And that's not good to be in that position or to live your life like that. And so it's just a horrible situation to know that they're going around ending lives, and they can be doing this for a profit. In some cases, it can be profitable. Unfortunately, that's just the world we live in, that some people are actually making profits off of aborted babies. And so I want to read a scripture to you. And this is 2 Kings 21, ESV 6. And he burnt his son as an offering, and used fortune tellers and omens, and dealt with mediums and necromancers. He did much evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger. So this was Ahab, king of Israel, and he stopped worshiping God and started worshiping Molech. And he was sacrificing his son, because they're saying, okay, if you want this success, if you want riches, if you want money, make sure you give a sacrifice of your child to Molech. And so that's what a lot of the Jews or the Hebrews or the Israelites during that time frame, that's what they started doing, sacrificing their kids. And it was in fire. They would just throw their babies in the fire and just let them be consumed by fire. And that's what I see when I look at this, that in some cases, like I said, every case is different. But because there are tests you can do to see if your child may have Down syndrome. And some people will take that test and say, no, I don't want to deal with the child with Down syndrome, and make the decision not to have it. Or they might have an ultrasound. They might see their child is not going to be born with all their body parts. They might be missing an arm, missing a leg. And they might say, I know I want a perfect child, and decide I want to have an abortion. They might have a lot of girls and they want a son. The husband wants a son. The wife is pregnant. And it's like, no, I don't want any more girls. We'll just keep trying until we have a son. And so they go ahead and abort the daughter. Or they have a bunch of sons and they want a daughter. So there's a lot of things that go into why a person decides to have an abortion. And it's not, they try to make it seem like it's health care. Some of the reasons why people have abortion has absolutely nothing to do with health care. It's more of a personal decision to not have this child for whatever reason. Like I said, I put kids in a separate category, and women who have, been, they might have been sex trafficked, they might have been or kids themselves been, SM. And so that I put in a separate category. But then there's this other category where it's more of a personal decision, I feel, there are some medical reasons why a person will have an abortion or should have an abortion, or the doctors say, it's going to either be your life or the child life, and they have to make that decision. But then there are some people that just, I don't want this child, so let me just go ahead and go get rid of it, and they make that decision. So the only thing we can do as Christians is just basically pray that these people's eyes are open, pray that these people's minds are open, pray that these people's hearts are open to understand what they're really doing. And then, that's the only thing we can do. And because it's at a state level, each state, like when it comes up to voting, and if you're against, if you're pro life, then that's the way you would have to vote in your state, in your county, in your area when that time come around, because it's legal in some states, but it's not, that's why they're trying to get it back up to the Supreme Court so it can be legal in all states. And that's one of the things that Donald Trump, I'm not saying vote for Donald Trump, don't vote for Donald Trump, that's your decision. But that's one of the things that Donald Trump is doing. He's not eradicating abortion altogether. He's just basically saying it needs to stay at a state level, and each state can make a decision based on if they want to have that in their state. So that will all depend on the people voting based on what they want in their state.